Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us from the market site in Times Square, New York City, we have Glen Tullman. He's the CEO of Transcarent. We're going to discuss the digital health industry and empowering consumers. Glen, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks. It's been a couple of years since you've been here.
It's been a couple of years, but it was a great start. You know, being here, we were just talking about it, launching the largest digital health IPO in history was a lot of fun.
And let's talk about that. What was the genesis behind starting Transcarent? I mean, you've had success with Livongo from the largest digital health IPO and then the merger with Teladoc. What's the genesis behind Transcarent?
Well, look, at Livongo, we were fortunate to empower people with chronic conditions to live better and healthier lives. And we did it in a way that really educated the market and showed the market that you could build at scale a digital health company, and investors picked up on the fact that we had created something special. And so not only did that address a big healthcare problem, but it also opened up the market for IPOs, and we saw what happened after that. But the fact of the matter is we didn't finish the problem. And a lot of our existing customers came to us and said to us, can you do what you did at Livongo for chronic conditions? Can you do that for the rest of the healthcare market? And so Transcarent is about how do we create a new and different health and care experience that empowers consumers and puts them back in charge. So it's fixing the rest of healthcare. That's what we're doing.
You know, it's so interesting, Glenn. Before we went live, we were talking about how all industries are digitizing and tech really is the story. So what are the similarities that you see in the digital health industry today versus just the e-prescribing industry from years back?
Yeah, well, I think it's the same thing from the standpoint of we're using technology to address three things. One, to create a better consumer experience. Two, to actually and measurably improve care. And then last but not least, to reduce costs, because that's what technology, when it's used appropriately, it reduces costs, but it puts us back in charge. I mean, think of Travelocity, right? Travelocity took the travel agent out of the middle, and it gave us the information we need, it gave us the guidance that we need, and it allowed us to take charge and actually book our trips. And we love that. We love being in charge. We love having all the information, and that's what we're going to do in healthcare, which is we're going to shrink that middle and connect the people who matter, all of us who are health consumers, with the providers who provide the care.
Right, and see, that's really what the challenge is in the U.S. healthcare system. It's no secret that there's just so much bureaucracy and loopholes and layers to peel back, right? So what role will self-insured employers and consumers play, hopefully ushering in a new healthcare system post-pandemic?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, we've all seen that when it comes to healthcare, we're all one in healthcare. And if you look at self-insured employers, they buy half the care in the United States. And if you add the government, it's even more than half the care. So when they look at what's happened over the last 20 years, costs have skyrocketed, but quality has not. And the experience for most of us, if you survey consumers today, they say healthcare is more confusing, more complex, and more costly than ever before, and it's getting worse. And so what we've said is, let's use technology to actually improve that experience, give people the information they need, the guidance they need, and let you make the decisions about your care. And if we do that right, we'll reduce the middle, and then we'll make it actually more affordable. And that other piece of that is health equity, which is who suffers. You know, I've often said, and I've been criticized a little bit for saying that we don't need another concierge, healthcare provider. What we need is to address the millions and millions of people, basic working people, who need better care that's affordable.
And you also recently announced big news with Walmart. Congratulations on that. What will the partnership with Walmart mean using Transcarent solutions, and what does it mean for Transcarent having a large partner like Walmart?
Sure. Well, it was transformational, as you mentioned, for Transcarent, for Walmart to select Transcarent as their go-to-market partner for large self-insured employers. And what we're really doing is we're bringing their famous buying power, everyday low prices. And think about it, 200 million people a week go to Walmart. And those 200 million people are in fact the middle class of America. And so now when those people are at work, they can still get the benefits of low pricing on things like prescriptions, and we're going to drive down some of those costs that they're paying. So we're making all of their buying power available to the average self-insured employer. And that's the first step in, again, expanding care and making it more available.
And equally as exciting, you were named one of the top 10 healthcare leaders of the past decade by Forbes, which is quite incredible. What do you think the new wave of innovation is going to look like in health tech?
Well, I think first and foremost, what happens in the next 2 years is going to dictate the next 20 years. And we're going to see dramatic change. We've seen it in the PBM space. 5 years ago, there were 1 or 2 big PBM leaders. They were both acquired. And today we have all new names, GoodRx, PillPack, Row, Capsule, all of these organizations, because they were able to use technology to create better experiences for all of us consumers. And they flipped that industry. We're going to see the same thing for payers in this space. But I think if you had to select 3 words that matter: 1, changing the experience; 2, getting alignment. The people who pay for care have to make the decisions. And last but not least, again, creating something that people actually value. And that's really the transformation that we're going to see over the next few years.
Let me throw one more question at you.
Yeah.
You said the next 2 years is really going to be transformational over the next decade. Do you think the pandemic accelerated a number of these trends? Because we've seen that across multiple industries where we're seeing things accelerated 3 to 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you think the pandemic was responsible for some of that, or were some of these trends already in place?
The trends were in place. For example, Livongo was already growing well over 100% a year pre-pandemic. But what the pandemic showed all of us was that if we needed to, we could flip care to fully digital. And we had to do that initially. Now, it's going to settle in with a balance. And in fact, in the future, we won't talk about consumer digital health. We'll talk about consumer health. But the pandemic was able to show us how important digital care was. And in certain areas like mental health, we found out that people would rather go online and share feelings and the like than talk to a human. And so we're actually seeing in some cases better results from digital solutions than we were from kind of the face-to-face solutions. But ultimately, this is not, we hear people say high tech, high touch. No, it's just high touch. Technology is in the background, making it easier to deliver better care and putting all of us back in charge of our care.
All right, Glenn, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.